Welcome to HeroQuest fans. It's been a while since you've probably seen a live video on our channel. I wanted to just apologize to anybody who was kind of confused or wondering where I've been lately. We've had to cancel a lot of shows. My schedule has been very chaotic as far as this community goes. But I just want to reassure everybody that things are okay, things are fine. I am taking a bit of a hiatus from being a content creator, and that is not because of anything bad, just so you know, nothing like that. But there have been some changes in my personal life, which I'm not going to get into here, that have basically thrown my schedule into a bit of uh, a different situation, let's just say, so that I'm not as available as I was before to kind of do these weekly streams. Because really, when you think about it, we were up to the point where I was doing maybe 8 to 10 hours of streaming for just for HeroQuest fans, and then another 2, 3, sometimes 4 additional hours per week doing the Rantcast podcast with Strange Bus, my good friend Josh. So it's kind of a drastic change for me to just suddenly disappear. I mean, I go on vacation and so on, and I try to let people know what's happening. But I just want to reassure you that me being gone doesn't mean that I don't care, doesn't mean that I'm giving up. It just means that things are a little bit different. And unfortunately, I've had to kind of step away a little bit. My plan is to come back, but it's going to require some changes, some adjustments. So this is a period of transition, a period of adaptation. So in the meantime, I do want to point you out to various other great content creators in the world of HeroQuest fandom online. People like Always Bored, Never Boring on YouTube. People like Cristobal of LaGuardia de Morcar, also on YouTube. And there's a big, robust Spanish speaking community out there on Telegram. There's HeroQuest groups on Facebook, on Instagram, on X, formerly known as Twitter, as we all know. Various other places, Reddit. There's a whole bunch of HeroQuest stuff on there. There's various HeroQuest fan pages that are out there that have been around. Some of them have been around since the 90s. Some of them are newer. So there's HeroQuest Adventures that has a lot of HeroQuest related fan created content, unofficial stuff you can download or view for your own games and idea inspirations. I'm sure there's stuff, well, there's lots of things on Etsy that you can buy. There's all kinds of 3D models on places like Yegi and Cults 3D, places like that. The Dragon's Rest is another place that people mention a lot for 3D prints for HeroQuest things. eBay, of course, people find all kinds of vintage stuff that's being sold out there. Avalon Hill, of course, is Hasbro's. Um, it's a division of Hasbro Gaming that produces the modern version of HeroQuest, and they have their own Discord, Avalon Hill Discord. The old one, they basically lost control of it, so a new one has come out. So there's an Avalon Hill Discord with official updates. Now, granted, the updates have been kind of slow lately since the release of Wizards of Morcar, but they're out there. There's all kinds of other HeroQuest related discords out there. There's Mentor Study. There's one just called HeroQuest. There's the Amalgam Archive, which is Amalgam Ash's Discord. So you may be familiar with Ash Quest on YouTube. The old channel of his, which focuses more on like hobby gaming and programming and just fun stuff that he does. That's Amalgam Ash. So check him out. There's also Sir Death Vids on YouTube you can check out. He doesn't update as often, but with HeroQuest related stuff, but he's a big fan. There's the Fair Weather Man, another good channel to check out. Very high quality video content. There are several others. Bourbon and Board Games is Ribby's YouTube. He did a whole bunch of stuff on OrcQuest. He's also done some HeroQuest related content. It's a newer channel, but he's a good friend of our community. Then there's also Retro DH, who occasionally shows up. Good friend of mine, actually, from back in the day, but we've recently reconnected. We have similar hobby interests. Big gamer. He doesn't have as much time to update because of family stuff, but it's a good time. Also out in the community, I'm forgetting all kinds of people. There's Dead Gamer. Now he hasn't been very active lately, but really good guy as far as uh, presenting leaks and kind of historical stuff, and a big tabletop gamer. There's several other people I'm forgetting. So if I forgot you, it's not because I don't remember you. It's just that at the moment I'm not remembering. But there's lots of stuff. If you go to YouTube and you just type in HeroQuest, with as all one word over with the space, you're going to come up with all kinds of things. There's all kinds of videos of various content creators where they'll make one video where they talk about HeroQuest as a game. So you got Bardic Broadcast with his famous "What's so great about HeroQuest?" Very humorous video. Then you'll get other people who maybe will do like an unboxing or a review. Some people do live games. So if you're looking for live games while HeroQuest Fans is away, you've got the Smoking GM. Some people call him the Smoking DM. I kind of forget, but he uses Tabletop Simulator, which is one of these Steam-based game platforms that allow you to import your own game assets, like that have been scanned or 3D created, to play HeroQuest Live. And so he actually plays HeroQuest Live on YouTube with various people that have joined his Tabletop Simulator game and play with him, and then he streams so that people on YouTube can type comments. There's also several Twitch streamers who do HeroQuest, maybe not as frequently as we were doing it, but there's Dark Molinet, if I'm saying that right. So kind of a French and Scandinavian speaking channel, basically, who will play games live using a similar method that we use with the cameras. But anyway, I did want to do kind of a retrospective of HeroQuest Fans, what it is, and I might even do a separate video on this, but I don't have as much time, so it's going to be a little disorganized. I hope you'll kind of come along with me as we do that. So a lot of the music that you're hearing on my channel is actually created with the assistance of AI. I always have to say that as a disclaimer so that people don't think that, I'm stealing someone else's music or that some artist has created this and I'm not crediting them. That's not the point. The point is, I like to have background music. I don't have the resources to create it on my own. So I just use prompts with something like suno.com. Sora is something that we use on the Rantcast podcast. That's more to create video, but I don't really use Sora. So I use suno.com or suno.com. And so that's where that music comes from. Now, back in the day, I used stuff from other creators who would put out royalty-free music, and some of that stuff was kind of questionable because like the licenses would change or the links would change, and so it wasn't always like sometimes you would get flagged. It's like, wait a minute, I had permission to use this. Well, not anymore, or only partially. And so some of our older videos have like Alexander Nakarada, um, uh, or there was various YouTubers that we used their music. But I mean, on their sites, they would always say, you can use this for your video, whether commercial or not, because we did run ads on Twitch. Anyway, let's go back to the beginning. Let's do a little retrospective. Come with me. So on YouTube, it all started with XSC3, home of HeroQuest Fans. Originally, it was just XSC3. It was just a general gaming YouTube channel. In fact, when I first started, I didn't even have any content at all. It was back in 2006. Near the beginning, I wasn't among the very first content creators on YouTube, but I was in maybe that second year because it was 2005 when it started. A lot of viral videos. I thought I would just create an account, but after a while, I was like, well, why don't I start creating stuff? And mostly it was just gaming videos. So you can see here, this is kind of what it looked like at the beginning. So we had some Sega Genesis or Mega Drive and some PC games, just games that I didn't see other people making videos about. It was just to kind of showcase, oh, this is what Mortal Kombat on MS-DOS looks like. This is what Double Dragon looks like, or Double Dragon 2, I should say, on DOS. Just games that I remembered and maybe people were curious about, just little clips. But one of them, as fate would have it, as Providence would have it, HeroQuest DOS game, which I just found online. I mean, I now own an official copy, a vintage copy, but back then it was just like you would find these games you'd find these games on just abandonware sites. And I know there's a whole questionable thing about like that, so definitely pay the creators. But anyway, you would find these games and people were curious about them. So I showcased that a little bit. And after a while, I did some PlayStation 2 stuff, some Xbox 360 stuff. And the very first official HeroQuest fans video was this HeroQuest unboxing of the 1990 edition. I thought, I've got to start somewhere. I want to create a community. My ulterior motive was I wanted to play HeroQuest on camera, is what I wanted to do. I wanted to get people from around the internet because you had places like yeoldin.com. You had various old message boards, old websites. You had chat rooms. You had all these people from like the earlier days of the World Wide Web from the 1990s, because HeroQuest was a game from 89, 90, 91, around that era. You had people who are grown now who were talking about, nostalgia about this game. And I thought, I want to make my own community. But I was thinking, first of all, I want to just get some people together and play the game. So during the pandemic, when a lot of people were locked down with nothing to do, we started playing some games, and none of these were recorded. We started playing games over Zoom. So we're doing live video because at that time it was unlimited. You could just play it. You didn't have to pay for it. You could just stream a game. So I pointed my camera, my webcam, at the board, and somebody else would point the camera at their board, and so we'd have this split screen. And it was kind of like people who played chess over the phone or over email. Like, I'll move my pieces, and so you can see where I moved mine, and so I'll move my corresponding pieces on my board. It took forever. It was a very inefficient system, but it was kind of a way to connect. It was like, I can't be over at your house playing this board game together like we used to, or we would have back in the day. So let's play it, remotely, virtually. And so it was a way to kind of connect with friends and family. So I did several of these games, many, many hours of games and banter and chatting and fun. And I connected with some people that I hadn't before, people that I just talked to in forums or chat rooms. It's like, oh, I can actually hear their voice and maybe I can see their face if they're comfortable sharing and play a game together, play a live game together, so to speak. So it was a lot of fun. But I wanted to translate that into something maybe that could be shared with the public, opened up to more people. So I started this community on Twitch called HeroQuest Fans. And Twitch is known as a gaming platform where a lot of times you just have somebody doing like a live feed of them playing some video game. So Xbox, PlayStation, Wii, whatever it is, PC, mostly PC because it's the easiest to capture. But someone will be playing a video game and just talking over the video game, or people will be chatting and leaving comments while they're playing the game. It seems like kind of a boring concept. Like, why do you want to watch someone play a game when you can just play it yourself? But it was a way for people to share like new games, or maybe someone's really good at a game, so you can watch their skills, or you can see them, I don't know, do funny things or unlock little Easter eggs. And it got to the point where you could actually interact with the person who was streaming. So you could maybe do something in the chat which would cause their game to get harder or get easier, or maybe something would unlock for you so that while you're watching this person play a game, your video game would get some kind of bonus or Easter egg or unlock, or you get a discount on the game. So it was kind of an interesting way to do it. But there wasn't a lot of stuff related to board games that I noticed. It was all video games, or it was people just talking. You had celebrities, or you had people who were, I don't know, just trying to flirt with their fans, and it was kind of weird, kind of awkward. But I wanted to give something, like I wanted to start with a platform where I could interact with the audience playing a board game, an actual physical board game of my own, and also just kind of be nostalgic and talk with people. So that was my idea. And various other people liked the idea and they got in on it. So we had various people helping us out very early on. A lot of suggestions, a lot of feedback, way too many people to thank. There's a whole list of people that we thanked. And you can actually go to the HeroQuest Fans Discord, which you see at the bottom of your screen, and you can go into the thank you section, and there's a whole list. So all the people that I forgot to mention in this video, people whose names I can't think of, the people who I forgot, oh, they did this thing for us, or they did that thing for us back in the day, and then maybe they're no longer around with the community. Well, all those people are listed. They're named, and if we missed anybody, please go there because I'm very grateful. I just don't remember every single thing that every other person has done. But it's been a lot. It's not just been me all by myself. But I did have this idea, like many other people, thinking, hey, I can start my own community. And it's much easier said than done, right? Because if you don't have a lot of money, a lot of experience to start it, it doesn't just happen overnight. It has to grow organically. And I wanted it to grow organically because I didn't want to be one of these people who just like buys views or does massive advertising. I wanted it to be word of mouth. I wanted it to grow like that. And I was really excited to do it. So we started out with this unboxing video. Unboxing videos, of course, are extremely boring if you're not interested in what they're doing, but I just wanted to start with something. So that's what we did. So that was kind of our milestones. That was in 2021 that we did this. And so I did various videos, as you can see, mostly just showing just things that I'd created, custom creations, miniatures I'd painted, just basic colors usually, nothing fancy. I had these 3D printed figures or ones that I'd bought at stores, and I just painted them red because that's how the HeroQuest heroes looked. And I wanted to have other options, so I just painted them solid red. Or I painted them blue or white to look like the monsters, or green. I did an unboxing video for Battle Masters. That was another game. That was one that I bought more recently. And some of these videos, these older ones, you can tell like the lighting isn't very good, the editing isn't very good. We were still learning. The Avalon Hill HeroQuest video, that's from already 4 years ago. I did that with my good friend Brian, and I went over to his place and we recorded a little funny intro, and then we just opened up the new HeroQuest, the Mythic tier from Avalon Hill, and showed that off. So that was 2021. And then we transitioned into various videos you can see here. And I encourage you to check these out yourself. Some of them are really long, really rambling. There's ones where I just read the rule book. And some people said, oh, you have a nice voice, or it's fun to hear your voice. Maybe other people, maybe it's the Bob Ross effect. You know, you're hearing my voice and you're falling asleep. It's like, I gave you a good night's sleep. Well, that's great. But we talked about various things like the Japanese HeroQuest. We talked about the HeroQuest companion app. Talked about homebrew rules. Talked about Space Crusade. All kinds of stuff. But a lot of time went by when I was just throwing out content, just trying to create something to fill the space. And I was streaming on Twitch. I was stream live. People would go in the chat. People started to notice us. And I think our first video that actually had interaction was this HeroQuest Tyrant's Tomb. Was it Tyrant's Tomb? Yeah. It was an interactive game book reading. That was the idea. So I would read this vintage HeroQuest book, which I have an actual physical copy of. And it was like a choose your own adventure. You know, at a certain point, it's like, do you go to the north and go to page 15, or do you go to the south and go to page 85? And so I would give the people in the chat a chance to type their answer. Like, what do you think? So if enough people vote one way, we go that way. If nobody says anything, I just pick one. So it's kind of a neat little experiment. But I'd heard people like Lee at Covert Nerd podcast had done things like that. I thought, what a fun idea. Amalgamash has done the Lone Wolf books on his channels. So we did our own kind of little version of that. And then we had, I played Space Crusade against myself, which was very long, and I made a lot of mistakes because I really hadn't played the game before. It was one of these vintage games that I always wanted, but I finally found a really good copy from Board Game Geek. One of these vintage gamers sold me his copy for a really good deal, and I was really pleased with it. And I had seen Always Bored, Never Boring on YouTube, and he had played these little scenarios of Space Crusade against himself because you can actually do that. HeroQuest, you really can't play against yourself very easily unless you're using the modern companion app because the whole point of HeroQuest is Zargon, the main bad guy. He has a secret map that shows where all the monsters are, shows what all the treasures are, shows what the storyline is that he's supposed to reveal as the heroes discover it. Whereas the hero players have no clue until Zargon puts the stuff on the map. You go around a corner, all of a sudden you see a bunch of monsters. You open the door, all of a sudden you see the furniture because Zargon puts it out. Well, with Space Crusade, you can kind of fake it. You can kind of play against yourself because you have the Space Marine groups that are, or Eldar groups that are moving around. And then instead of Zargon, you've got the alien or chaos player, and he's just a player like the rest of them. He has his army of aliens and robots, and he's putting them out, and he's flipping a card every turn, which has an event. You know, an alien event is happening. Somebody gets blown up by a bomb. Uh, Another alien pops out of nowhere. Somebody's gun malfunctions. Like, but it affects everybody in that way, and so he himself or she doesn't know what's going to happen until the card gets flipped. So it's kind of a neat concept. Now, when Always Bored, Never Boring did it, he would play these really short scenarios where it's just one group of Marines going in, doing something, and he would edit it so it wasn't like 4 hours long. But I tried to do it straight up. I didn't do a lot of editing, so my videos were much longer and probably kind of boring if you're not familiar with the game. But at the same time, it was good experience for me learning how to stream that and just come up with ideas on the fly as we played. So I still wasn't playing with other people at that time. We were doing more videos talking about Avalon Hill Hero Quest. So we had the Guardian Knight controversy that happened, one of these limited edition products that everybody wanted but no one could get. We started talking about, new expansions on the way. So the Frozen Horror was a big deal. The first remake of one of the Hero Quest expansions since the release of the first ones, Keller's Keep, Return of the Witch Lord. So that was a big deal. So we're into 2002 now. And so now we get another milestone. I finally, because I decided to play the Frozen Horror on the stream. And I was mainly trying to show why I thought the product released as is had some problems, like it was way too hard for beginner players, and they would get frustrated and hate HeroQuest because it wasn't fair, it wasn't fun like the rest of it. I mean, unless you go through and modify it, like if you change it, you get rid of some of the monsters, you add some more healing potions to make it more player friendly. So I just wanted to show, okay, if you just play it as is, you're going to have a heck of a time. Your characters are just going to die over and over and over again, and there really isn't much much good there. Even though it had a lot of potential, right? It had a lot of new characters, scenarios. So I was trying to kind of do that. So sort of like a live demonstration, a live review of the Frozen Horror. But I finally got into these multiplayer games. So we finally started. So that was, let's see, let me just look at the video here, the actual video. Okay, yeah, so it was in April of 2022. Now the dates on this are not exact because in a lot of cases we would put the video on Twitch first. It would stream live on Twitch first, and then it would appear on YouTube a little bit later. Because YouTube had these, well, YouTube has its own rules about streaming. I tried to stream on YouTube, it was a disaster. I couldn't get it to work well enough. And maybe if I went back, I could do it. But it had all these rules. YouTube had been around for so long, it had become so commercialized, it was very difficult for somebody new to just start doing it. Especially if you didn't have like a smartphone and multiple cameras set up, which at first I didn't. I only had one camera. Then I had two cameras, right? That's where we started. Very low budget. So shout out to Ron Moore of Low Budget Reviews. He encouraged me a lot in terms of the way he did his content on YouTube and Twitch. Just kind of inspired me to just try it. Just get your stuff out and just do it. Don't worry that you don't have a big fancy setup like some of these top content creators. Just try it out, do it, have fun with it, interact with people, and that's what it's all about. That's what makes it fun for me. This is not a job. This is just a little hobby. So anyway, we got started with these live game streams. So we got Strange Bus, we got um, PSK Studio, we got Blue Star, we got various people starting out, just join it. And it was cool because these were people who had never played HeroQuest before. They were D&D players, or they'd played other games, but they were willing to try it. So we had our first our first multiplayer game, multiplayer live game. And I was like, great, this is going great. We're starting out. So yeah, we started doing that, And then we had more game book readings. So kind of more of the same. A lot of experimental stuff. Very experimental. And a lot of these videos have very few views, you can see, because we just weren't popular yet. We hadn't really grown. Another milestone we finally got to, and this was 3 years ago now, time sure flies, Amalgamash did a live interview with us. Now, in a sense, we had done interviews before because when Strange Bus came on, I talked with him, kind of gave a little introduction. Whenever we had a new person on the stream, I tried to do a little chit chat, a little small talk with them, kind of get them comfortable, introduce them to the audience, such as it was, because it was growing. More and more people were watching us. But this was the first, I guess, formal interview with somebody who was already established in the community because Amalgamash already had his channel. I think he had maybe 1,000 more views or 1,000 more subscribers than we did. So we would always joke about, oh, you're more popular than us. And of course, he's way more popular than us now. But at the time, there was less of a gap. But still, he does his thing, we do ours. So the whole rivalry thing is just a big joke. Like I don't really have anything against the guy or his content. But he was nice enough to do an interview. It was a lot of fun. There was a lot of banter, jokes. We played a game together. And around this time, we had also started something called the Rantcast podcast. So with the Strange Bus, he was another Twitch streamer, a friend I knew outside of all this already. And he had come up with this idea that we could do a stream together, a podcast together. But it became a regular thing. So we started doing the Rantcast podcast on Twitch, and it also is on YouTube. But I mean, he's a Twitch streamer, he's a YouTuber as well. His personal life is such that he doesn't have much time to do stuff anymore. But we did this weekly stream together. Well, I think at first it was every other week. And my schedule changed a lot. So originally I was streaming 1 day a week, then I was streaming 2 days a week. And then with the Rantcast podcast, it was like 3 days a week. And at a certain point, I kind of burned out a little bit. I was like, this is too much. Like, I'm staying up too late editing videos. I'm getting too excited about, setting up to do these streams, and it's cutting into other stuff in my life. Like, I can't do that. As a hobby, you got to balance it with everything else. So that was a period of transition and adjustment for me as well. So I started to kind of cut back a little bit. Okay, focus on quality rather than quantity. Because now people were actually paying attention to us. People were actually coming to our channel. People were visiting our Discord, actually. And so the Discord was starting to grow. And I was having to add people as moderators. So we picked people from the community who were active, who were interested, who seemed trustworthy, and putting them in to kind of help us keep things under control. Because I always thought, well, what if we become really popular one day? We're going to have bots and we're going to have spammers and trolls, all the internet problems that you have. So they did a good job. So again, all those people get thanked on the page. It's a long list of people that have contributed and helped us over the years. And occasionally you get somebody who's like, you know what, this isn't fun for me anymore. I want to leave or don't have time. And so they just kind of disappear. And it's like, great, that's okay, you know. Or maybe they don't agree with the direction of the community. They have some other idea. They want to start their own community somewhere else. So no problem. Just let them go and we just kind of keep on going. Because it's not like some of these creators back in the day, they would create, little corporations, right? And there was a profit motive, and they were trying to, put out a product. It's like we're really not like that. We're just a group of fans. So really, what is HeroQuest fans now? It's a fan community of other creators and people who just like to talk about HeroQuest and other games from that era. People who like to share their own creations. We got a lot of people who paint. We got people who do 3D modeling or sculpting even, or who just share stories from back in the day or ideas. Like this is how we played our game. Just share a little bit, post some pictures, talk, ask questions. It's a lot of fun. And then we get people who actually show up on the stream and play live games with us. So that's what it's become. But again, let's go through and kind of talk about some more. So Gen Con was a big day for us. The best 4 days of gaming, they claim, in Indianapolis, Indiana. So I had gone with a good friend of mine, and I used the time to play HeroQuest with the people who created HeroQuest. It was really cool. And it was a way to show people interviews, and it was a way to showcase the new products that people were talking about, the new games. And it was a lot of fun. And people submitted questions, which we actually asked the designers, the game designers, the company people at Avalon Hill. It's like, okay, here's what they asked. Now, after a while, got to the point where a lot of the questions were repetitive, or they just refused to answer them because they couldn't, because their company policy and all this sort of thing. But at least at the start, we just threw every question we could at them, and it was really great. It was a lot of fun. So at another point, we have Sir Death Vids, or Sir Death, playing live with Jacer and Strange Bus. So we played a game. We actually tried playing HeroQuest using the companion app. So I was capturing the companion app, which is supposed to be for the phone, right? It's supposed to take the place of Zargon. And we did that as a stream. It was really interesting. Of course, again, they were in the chat and I had control of the device. So they would say, "Oh yeah, move my character, 2 squares to the north." And so I would just move the character on screen for them. The monster would attack. We would roll our dice on screen. Now, back then we had another camera which was pointed at our little dice box, and so I would be rolling all the dice for everyone, rolling it for the monsters, rolling it for every hero. It got kind of exhausting after a while. Like we're playing a 2, 3, 4 hour game, and I'm just rolling, rolling, rolling. So at a certain point, Ribby contributed something which was a big help to us. It was called MentorBot, and so it's one of these Discord bots, and it would do various things, but the main thing that we really benefited from was the fact that it would allow you to type a command in the chat, and then that would cause a virtual dice roll to appear on the screen. So it'd say, okay, I want to roll 2d6s, and it would roll the d6s, or I want to roll 3 combat dice, and it would show the skulls and shields. So we could play virtually without me having to physically roll the dice for everybody, which was really a time saver. Kept the flow of the game going. It gave each individual person some agency. So you're not just telling Zargon, telling me what to do. You're actually rolling your own dice. So it was a lot of fun. And then at a certain point, we connected with dddice.com, which had 3D dice. Like you'll roll your dice in the chat, and then a 3D image of the dice will graphically appear on the screen. And so that was a lot of fun. So Ribby and I worked together. It took a lot of time, but we created versions of the various colors of dice. So we had the so-called power dice. So there'd be black combat dice that have more skulls on them, which you would use to indicate, the character is stronger, or they're using a stronger weapon, or this is a more advanced monster, right? Versus the white dice, which had fewer skulls on them, or green dice with more white shields for the heroes. So this shows that, the heroes have, stronger armor. There were just various things that we did. And plus it gave a little variety too. So each character, each player in the game could decide to have their own color of dice if they wanted. So maybe they're tired of rolling just the regular white dice. Maybe they'll roll light green dice or orange dice or something like that. It was the option. So MentorBot, that was a big deal. And I did get some feedback later of, well, how are the players supposed to keep track of all their stats? Well, they're writing it down on paper. I'm reminding them. So every quest that somebody joined, they would need like me to read off their character sheet. Like, this is all the stuff that you have. At a certain point, we decided that I think very early on, that when we're playing HeroQuest, a lot of times we couldn't finish a quest. Like in the early days, we tried to play from start to finish, but some of these quests would just go on and on and on. So we'd be playing for 4 hours. I think there was even a 6 hour game. It was just absurd. People can't commit to that kind of stuff, right? Every week. So we cut it down. We said, okay, well, maybe 2 hours is better. You can watch a movie in 2 hours. You can play a game in 2 hours. But then we would try to have a hard stop, right? So the idea was next week we pick up, if we didn't finish the quest, we just pick up where we left off. And since I've written down all the stuff on the character sheets for the characters, if they want to come back, we've got everything saved for them basically, ready to go. Here's all the equipment that your character had. Here's the spells that you used. Here's your body points. Here's your mind points. Here's how much gold you had. But what if a new person shows up or one of the old people isn't there? Well, we've got a character sheet for him. It's like, do you want to pick up the barbarian? You know, he's got a broadsword, he's got a shield, he's got 500 gold, he's got one healing potion left. You want to take that character or do you want to start a new one? So I had this list of uh, this packet of character sheets in my home, which was just ready and waiting to go. Yeah, so it was fun, but it was kind of this just continuous adventure, this continuous campaign. And we finally got to the point where we were running two different campaigns simultaneously. So we had a game on Friday in the afternoon, which a lot of European players could go because I have my Fridays off. My work schedule allowed me Friday off, and so I could start a little earlier. Now, the people who were still working, which most people do, you know, they're still working, they can't join. But some other people with different schedules, like people in Europe, they could they could play. So I tried to pick quests that were maybe more familiar to them, more nostalgic to them, because you had these European Hero Quest expansions that were known only to Europeans at first back in the day. So that was a lot of fun. But then on Saturday, I could have a little later game. Now, because I would have to get up the next day early, I had to cut it off again at a certain time. I couldn't stay up all night playing. And so you had more people who would come to the Saturday games, but it was sometimes different people than Friday. So you had these two different campaigns going at once. And that allowed us to kind of have a variety of experiences, enjoy the game, show what these Hero Quest expansions are like. And so we were off to a good start, really good start. So I kind of continued on. You started to see a few rants appearing on the channel. I mean, I tried to mostly confine it to the Rantcast podcast, but at first you'll see some of the Rantcast podcast episodes here before we got our own channel, the Rantcast podcast archive. So very quickly, both Strange Bus and myself, our Twitch channels went to affiliate, meaning we had the option to run ads, which did give us money, a very small amount of money. I mean, we're not talking much here. And especially with the things that we'd spend the money on, like buying better cameras or better microphones, printing T-shirts, like all that money is gone immediately, and you're paying out of pocket. So it's still a hobby. It's not a job. It's not a, I mean, maybe it's a side gig, but it wasn't a moneymaker, right? So it's not like some of these creators where they actually subsist on streaming or they get people. I mean, most people nowadays they don't really get much ad revenue from streaming on these various platforms. They have to either beg people for money or sign up for like Patreon so people can donate, like make subscription based interactions or like buy t-shirts, sell merch. You know, that's kind of how that works. So all that stuff that we do was just for fun. And we get a little bit of ad money, which I guess helps a little bit because you can buy a better camera or you can work on saving up for the next expansion that people want to see. So we had our 1 year celebration anniversary and did more game book readings, of course, more of the same, a lot of the same stuff. So people were starting to see that we did have this channel, we did have experiences. So there's a few videos in here occasionally where it's like it has nothing to do with HeroQuest, but that's more from like the old channel, me just kind of cleaning things up, re-editing. All right, so you see the Rantcast podcast. We actually did play Space Crusade with some other people. That was great. So that happened 3 years ago. Spoiler videos. I did my first painting stream where I was working on a project. It started out, I was trying to recreate, well, it was for the next Gen Con. I was trying to recreate Space Crusade using modern Warhammer 40,000 pieces. And this was a project I'd started a long time ago. My brother-in-law gave me a whole bunch of orcs that he didn't need anymore, and I was kind of repainting them, learning how to paint. But there was various painting streamers on Twitch, and so I was kind of taking after them. So it was kind of fun. We didn't do many of those videos just because mostly the content was focused on playing these games. Yeah, once we became affiliate, there were new rules. So you weren't supposed to stream a video and then immediately throw it onto YouTube. You were supposed to wait I think you had to wait 24 hours or 48 hours. And so we would premiere the videos on YouTube. So a lot of people who weren't on Twitch would see it for the first time. So on Twitch we'd get, a handful of viewers, and then on YouTube we get like tens, maybe 100 viewers. So it was a little different. But I thought, well, there's different communities. Some people want to be on one platform and not the other. But this YouTube became kind of an archive to store the videos, to edit the videos more easily. So it kind of worked out. Of course, YouTube and Twitch are rival companies. But yeah, the rule was you had to wait. So you get your ad, they'd get to run the ads on your video, and then you'd put it on YouTube ad free. Although there's been some controversy about the ads on YouTube since that time. I don't know. Some people block ads, and I don't really mind that much technically because I don't get paid anything for YouTube. And the stuff I get paid for on Twitch is very small anyway. People could sign up using Amazon Prime Gaming. Like if they had Amazon Prime, they could basically get a free month. But you choose the content creator you want to support. So as we go through, there were more unboxing videos, more leak videos. So it kind of alternated between covering the news in the world of HeroQuest and doing live games. But the live games were the lifeblood of it. That's what I really wanted to do. Now the news videos were much more popular because people are searching for HeroQuest news and they see it and they want to see my take on it. I mean, at first they just wanted any news, but after a while we gained enough of a reputation that they wanted to hear my opinion or the opinion of the other people in the fan community. So by this time, we actually had our own Discord. And again, other people helped me set that up. Other people helped me moderate it. I didn't know anything about Discord. Discord became the way that we ran our games. It was easy to get audio like instantaneously because in the older videos, you'll notice there's a lot longer pauses between turns because people are waiting for Twitch to catch up. And so there was like, I think it was originally a 10-second delay. Then it was a 5-second delay because I got better hardware, got a new computer, better microphones. But still, it was a 5-second delay. That's kind of annoying. But on Discord, we could talk in a voice channel and it just felt instantaneous. So the players would all know exactly what I said. They could type their dice rolls. It was very quick. It was very efficient. And then the people on Twitch would just kind of have that 5-second delay, and then they would see what's happening. So they'd be typing stuff. And we came up with our own system once we became affiliate. So on Twitch, you had viewer rewards. That was the big deal. Your channel points would build up. So if you're viewing someone's Twitch channel, you would get these points, and they would be based on like how long you were in the chat, or if you subscribed, you suddenly got like a whole bunch more points, or if you, oh no, first you follow them, you get a bunch of points. You subscribe, and then you get a multiplier. The idea was you get all these points, and the default stuff would be, again, this is focused on the idea of the Twitch streamer as someone who's sitting there physically playing a video game while other people watch. And so it'd be like drink water, put on a hat, stand up, point at the screen, give the thumbs up, like just silly stuff like that. Because people would like to interact with the person, the personality, or the person talking. And it's like, oh, get them to acknowledge me by using some of my channel points. And it kind of strays into a parasocial relationship, which maybe isn't healthy, where people would pay money to get noticed. And I never wanted the channel to be like that. Like, oh, you pay me money and I'll pretend to be your friend. It's like, no, 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 that's not how it works. And I didn't want it to be pay to win either, like where you'd pay money and you just win the game. That would be stupid. Like I'd never wanted it to be like that. And so what I did was I put together viewer rewards. So we changed the channel points into gold coins to make it HeroQuest themed. And the idea was you would spend the gold coins and you could interact with us while we're playing HeroQuest. So I'm playing with a bunch of live players and you could buy a monster. So me as Zargon would suddenly have a new monster to use. So that would give me the opportunity to say, okay, this mummy, he springs out of the tomb just in the middle of the quest, or oh, there's an extra orc that showed up. And so they'd have somebody to fight. And there were some really funny exchanges where normally in the quest, like the heroes, they got to the final room and now they're just heading to the door and then they leave and they win the quest, right? But somebody in the chat kept buying monsters, kept buying monsters, and so these monsters kept suddenly showing up, and I was putting them like in the way. So the heroes were having to fight their way to the door. So it made it more interesting. So the quest dragged on, but it was fun for people watching because they're like, no, it's not over yet. There's another fight to be had. And we also had instances more rarely where somebody just keeps getting terrible dice rolls, right? And their character is like dying. Their hero is dying. And so people in the chat would buy healing potions. It's like, oh, that's cool. So, oh, he got another chance. And so then that player is like, oh, good. I can keep going. Because I didn't want to make it like where, oh, your hero dies and it's like, get out of here. You can't play anymore. It's like, oh, well, I don't know. You can keep watching. You can go back to the chat and you can start generating stuff to help your party. Because I was wanting to say that the hero players who are controlling the heroes are just doing that, right? And the people in the chat, the lurkers, the watchers, the audience, they're the ones, quote unquote, buying stuff. So they would buy potions for the heroes to help them along. Or some people would be on the side of chaos and they'd buy monsters to help Zargon, the Zargon player, so make it harder for the heroes. And some people would do both. Like they wanted to see some more action. There isn't enough action here, so let's throw in some stuff. But I really liked that system, and we over time we added more to it. So we added the ability to like shuffle the deck again, or add special cards that we would play. So Zargon would get a card that benefits him, or creates an event. A monster just shows up randomly, one of the doors closes, maybe a pit trap appears out of nowhere, just stuff like that. And then we'd also get stuff for the heroes, like maybe they get a piece of equipment that they didn't have before, or they get a special skill card that they could use anytime. And people in the chat would say, yeah, I want the dwarf to get this, or I want the wizard to get that. All kinds of things like that. And it really enhanced the gameplay experience, and it gave the players an extra challenge, and it gave the people who were just chatting an opportunity to interact. So you think about, and this was great feedback I got from someone where it was somebody who's visiting my channel maybe doesn't have the time to sit there for 4 to 6 hours or even just 2 hours, maybe not even 1 hour. Maybe they're only there for like 5, 10, 15 minutes, but they want to do something fun. So they hop in, they see there's a quest going, they use their channel points and they buy a monster or they buy a potion and then they leave. And it's like, that's fine. Why not do that? So I lowered the quote unquote prices because this is not real money. These are channel points that build up based on you being there or following. And the idea was somebody can have a little fun and they can leave their mark, leave their lasting impression on the quest. They can change the course of the adventure. Now, not enough to totally derail it and ruin it, but still to have fun. Because you would have this sort of tug of war that would happen between people helping the heroes and people helping Zargon. So in the end, it kind of balances itself out usually. So I really like that. And those suggestions that people gave really helped us grow and expand what we were doing week after week. And of course, again, you see lots of Gen Con stuff. And the people at Avalon Hill, especially in Carmine, Chris Nato, who's now with Topps, and not with Hasbro anymore, he was a big deal because he gave us an all access interview basically, answered our questions. He had some witty banter to go around, talked about the game. He was really able to say a lot about HeroQuest and kind of acknowledge us, the fans, and all the things we were doing. Because a lot of the stuff that Avalon Hill was doing was trying to appeal directly to those old fans who had kept the game alive, kept it going. Because HeroQuest went out of print like in the 90s. And yet people online were creating new adventures, new characters, new stories. They were keeping the flame going, right? They were holding the torch until Avalon Hill could come in and go, okay, we're going to bring HeroQuest back to make money, of course, for Hasbro. But at the same time, we can kind of acknowledge the contributions of these fans, not by stealing their ideas, but by creating stuff that sort of appeals to those fan ideas that you had over time. So various fans came up with things like visiting the village, to interact with the locals. It's like, okay, they put that into Wizards of Morcar, to say, now that's an official part of the game, thanks to you. Or Joe Manganello and his Crypt of Perpetual Darkness. He had a tavern. Like a lot of people had created a tavern where you could go there and fight monsters, but you could also go there and, I don't know, barter, or you could hire mercenaries there. So it's like they created a special tile that looks like a tavern to put into HeroQuest, or a dragon. Like we didn't have a dragon in HeroQuest. You had it in Dungeons and Dragons, but not HeroQuest. So a lot of those fan ideas became official, and so that was really cool. So we had a good relationship with them. Gen Con was also really great to finally meet some of those fans that we talked to in chat or on the forums and finally meet them. Of course, you always wonder, oh, I met somebody online, like, what are they going to be like in real life? And it's like, oh, they're pretty normal. They just like to have fun. That's great. So we had some good interactions there. And for a while, I was creating these custom thumbnails for the new quests. It kind of got exhausting after a while. I started using AI for it, and I kind of abandoned the idea because it was just too much work to constantly come up with new ones every single time we started a new quest. But we started highlighting other channels and what they were doing. We had this video, this was now 2 years ago, where I went to um, someone else's home and they had a bigger space for us to record in. And so I actually used this 3D board that was donated to me by Mercantile. So people were giving us free stuff, like saying, "Here, record in my home. Here, use this, this special HeroQuest board that I created that you can have." And so it kind of got into a territory where like I was like thinking, well, I don't want to demand stuff of people. Like I don't want to put people out, but at the same time, I want to acknowledge what they're doing to help us. And so, yeah, I'm happy to use their fancy board and acknowledge them and plug their stuff. But that gets into kind of sponsorship territory. You gotta be careful. Like people give you free stuff, they expect something back. So you gotta talk to them. It's like, okay, well, by in accepting this, I'm understanding that I'm not gonna like I still want to be objective. So if there's a problem with the product you gave me, I'm still gonna give an honest review. And if that makes you mad and that makes you wanna not interact with me in the future, well, that's fine. That's how it's gonna be. But I still have to acknowledge it because otherwise people will think because there was a controversy on YouTube not that long ago where people weren't telling that they got this stuff for free or they got paid to review this product, right? So it wasn't transparent, it wasn't honest. And so I always wanted to make sure I navigated that correctly. But again, people giving me free stuff was kind of a new thing for me, and it was kind of cool, kind of humbling. So anyway, I did that video, and that was something I was hoping that I could do like monthly, but it turned out it fell through. Like we just didn't have the time and the opportunity to travel to somebody's place and have them have enough time to set everything up and get the sound check and get it working. Same thing with the Rantcast podcast. Like Josh and I would get together, we would do live streams like at his place, but there just wasn't enough stability for us to just do that regularly. It just was like a once in a blue moon thing. But still, it's a lot of fun to be able to do that. Of course, you have to adapt the space if you're not ready for streaming and so on. So as we go on, I did more and more videos, and you can see we're started getting to a place of stability. Like this was a year ago now, looking through these videos where it was pretty regular. We would have a lot of the same people showing up to game streams. We'd have a HeroQuest Power Hour on the Rantcast podcast. So because I was running out of time to fit everything in and I was getting kind of burned out or trying to avoid burnout, I would focus on XSC3 Home of HeroQuest fans as the depository for HeroQuest content. HeroQuest fans on Twitch would become the place where we would play games, right? And Discord was where people would talk about the games and people would play the games using the voice channel, which would then connect with Twitch, right? So Twitch would do the live game facilitated by Discord. In the meantime, people are talking about it, and then YouTube would post the replay. So that's how it went. And occasionally we would have these other videos in between where I would talk about a new leak or a new rumor. I would do an unboxing video, but those were like quick. They were short. And most of the time, that information got shunted over to the Rantcast podcast. So the Strange Bus, Josh, he would be talking about, stuff in the world of PC gaming or media or movies, Star Wars in particular. because we both love it, but he really was into it. And then we would have the HeroQuest Power Hour, where I would talk about whatever's happening in the world of HeroQuest at the moment, which at the time there was a lot of news. There was a lot of new stuff. Things have slowed down dramatically, so mostly we talk about fan projects or, well, there's not really much happening this week. But at this time, we were talking about a lot of stuff. But again, the channel was focusing much more on playing the game and showing us playing the game. But occasionally we'd have these special interviews. So we had um, the Lost Quest packs, talking with Luca Posky. That was pretty cool. Of course, at the time, I was really hoping that we were about to see the release, and it's gotten delay after delay after delay, unfortunately. So it is what it is. But we had a good time chatting with him. He was a fun guy to interview, talk with. So we kept doing kind of more of the same. I started highlighting a lot of these other channels just to show people that we weren't trying to dominate the space. We're trying to acknowledge that other people have inspired us. Other people have done really good things too, and some of them are more popular than we are. So it's all good. We're all part of that fan community because it really is a community now. We have over 1,000 people on the HeroQuest fans Discord, 1,000 members, and hundreds and hundreds of regular contributors and people who are online. So it isn't just somebody comes in, says hi, and then leaves, right? Or just disappears. We don't get ghosted. And I think we're bigger than all the other HeroQuest Discords except for the Avalon Hill one. The Avalon Hill one, of course, is the official company one. Of course, it's going to be bigger. We put some Warhammer 40,000 stuff on here. Occasionally, we'll cover other games, other fantasy tabletop games. HeroScape is on here. I started doing these AI music videos. They're not really music videos. It's a video, but it's a song, and it was just a silly song that has to do with HeroQuest, and it's in a musical genre. So I did like some hip hop stuff, some disco, country, reggae, K-pop. So some people just thought it was dumb and had no interest in it whatsoever. That's fine. But again, we were trying to create stuff that we could use on the channel, either as an intro or as background music while we're playing, because I always wanted to have some background music. Another great suggestion, this was from Retro DH, and this was something we implemented, I don't have the exact date, but it was more than a year ago now. We started putting, you'll see these little images, these little icons on the side, these numbers. So we would put the body points that each hero had, so that while we're playing, people in the chat would see, oh, the barbarian's about to die, better get him a potion. And it would also show the number of healing potions they had next to it. And I had a stream deck, which my brother-in-law gifted me, which is great. And I would be able to just press a button to roll a die or to update someone's body points or health potions. It was really cool, really cool. And it saved a lot of time, and we could put sound effects with it. Sometimes we could put little animations with it. So it really was this hybrid format of a physical board game, as if you were sitting around the table with us playing, but also having sort of this heads up display, this kind of digital interaction. So almost like a video game. So kind of a hybrid environment. Because I noticed there were a lot of streamers, and I've forgotten their names because some of them don't stream anymore or they just haven't streamed in a while. But they would gather their friends together and sit around the kitchen table playing HeroQuest, and they would point the camera at the group playing. But the problem was most of the time you couldn't actually see the action well enough to follow it. You would just really what you're doing is you're just watching some other people play something. And you're more focused on like their facial expressions, their verbal interactions, their jokes, their banter as they play a game, right? But it's a totally different experience than what we do where the focus is on the game. Like you don't see me at all except for my hands moving the pieces around occasionally, right? Or you'll see the digital dice, you'll hear the voices of the players, but the focus is on the game, on the action. And you can actually follow it if you play it. Yes, there's some edits. Occasionally the camera is maybe too far away, too fuzzy. If you're on a really small screen like a phone, we have some members who don't have really good eyesight, so they're like, wait, I can't really see what's happening. What's that red blob next to that other red blob? But as the action goes on, I try to focus the camera more closely on what we're doing. But I mean, you can tell our cameras are not as advanced and fancy as maybe someone like the Fairweather Man. Like his cameras are great. Or my brother-in-law has some really great cameras. So some of these more professional streamers who have access to better equipment have a better setup than we do, but we still do what we can. We have a good time. So a lot of times I'll pull the camera back. I have kind of this gooseneck, which is connected to a webcam with an autofocus. And I know the autofocus, a lot of people don't like that, but I like it because I don't have to sit there and constantly adjust the focus. Or if at most, maybe I'll just press a button and it'll just autofocus. And so I can see the larger board, and then I can zoom in on the action. Like as the heroes all move into the central room, let's say we'll start doing a close up of that. For a while, I had this split screen set up, but that most of the time I don't need that if the heroes stay together. I mean, if they split up on the board, yes, I will need it. But you'll notice that a lot of the older videos we did split screen much more often. I have to go back quite a ways to find split screen videos. And at one point I had it so that I could just hit a key and it would switch from camera to camera. Like I had 4 cameras set up all over the table, like all 4 quadrants of the board, of the HeroQuest board, which takes up my whole card table. But nowadays I just have 3 cameras. I have basically 2 static cameras for the left and right side, and then I have a gooseneck that I can adjust, which is your main camera. And a lot of the times it's just that one camera. Like I don't even need the side cameras because the heroes kind of just move through the quest in a linear fashion. Some of these quests are much more linear, so they're just moving their way through. So we started to get some more videos where again I met people from the community at Gen Con. So we had like uh, I won't name everybody's names, but yeah, we had some good friends. We got to meet them, got to play live games with them. A lot of the games aren't recorded though; they're just stills or maybe like quick clips because I don't know. I if I can avoid it, I don't like to just point a camera in someone's face. Like I'd rather them just have a natural interaction with me, just feel comfortable. Like I'm not trying to turn anybody into a celebrity that doesn't want to be famous. But at the same time, just acknowledging that, hey, we met, we had a good time, and shout out to everybody else. So now finally we move into the present. So I just want to say that it has been a great experience being a streamer, being a content creator. I enjoy playing board games with friends and family, but they're just with my schedule and the time of year and distance and everything, there just isn't as much opportunity to just have that in-person interaction. And when I get the chance to do that, I prefer that. But this has been a lot of fun because I've gotten to connect with people from other countries, faraway states, people I never would have met before otherwise for the love of this game and the love of creating new interesting things for it. So I've learned to paint thanks to a lot of these people. I've not really become a coder, but I've dusted off a lot of those skills that I used to have of like designing images, editing software, like stuff that I used to do a lot more that I hadn't done for many, many years, just working a, 9 to 5 kind of job, coming home, eating dinner, occasionally traveling to see family. But it's like this was a nice little side hobby to just get together with some people, play some board games in the best way we can. And some people like to watch it. A lot of people like to listen to our channel while they're painting or while they're doing the dishes, they're doing something else. The kids have gone to bed and they'll watch a little bit or they'll listen to a little bit. And I think it's great that we get to provide that for them. And we have our little community on Discord where people join and chit chat. And whenever there's news posted on some other platform, we'll cross post it to the various places. So something appears on Yield-In, Reddit, YouTube, Instagram, X, wherever it appears, we'll post on HeroQuest fans Discord in the chat. But then we'll also post that information that we have on our Discord other places. So people will go to Yield-In and post it there. Let's not forget Dungeon Master, whom I affectionately call Dungeon Meister for the German speaking HeroQuest fans on places like YouTube. So let's just look at my channel here real quick, get some reminders of what's going on. So XSC3, home of HeroQuest fans on YouTube. This schedule, this was our former schedule. It's changed a little bit. It's actually 2:15 to 4:15 on Fridays. That's what it was. I know we've skipped a lot of Fridays, and a lot of Fridays we've actually gone later than 4:15 if we've got time. And then of course 79 on Saturday Central Time. But we've got our playlists here of our epic gameplay. We've got Against the Ogre Horde, Jungles of Delthrak. We've got the Crypt of Perpetual Darkness, Rise of the Dread Moon, Mage of the Mirror, Frozen Horror. So we've accomplished a lot in terms of playing games on the streams on Twitch, and we've got some Space Crusade missions as well. Against the Ogre Horde is still in progress, but we're on the final quest. So just think about that. But anyway, back to friends of the stream, back to these other communities that you can check out. So we've got Dead Gamer, of course. We've got Warbuilder Jacer J22, which Jacer is longtime player. He does a lot of craft and homebrew kind of things, showing just creativity. He and his daughter do a lot of tabletop stuff, and so nice little channel to see just how you can use odds and ends from different games to make your HeroQuest adventure a little more interesting. Strange Bus, so that's Josh. Another fellow Twitch streamer and good friend I mentioned before, Bourbon and Board Games, is Ribby. Sir Death Vids, Covert Nerd, Lee over at Covert Nerd Podcast. I know he's on more audio format platforms like Spotify, but he is there. Shadzar, big, formative guy in our community. He was the one who convinced me to start using Discord. He's the one who set all that up. He kind of got a little disenchanted, I think, with the whole community after a certain point. He was big into the controversies, talking about the controversies with the companies and things like that, D&D stuff. He'd get in debates with people. I haven't heard from him in a long time. He was an opinionated guy, and I think some people didn't like his opinion on things, but I've got to give him credit for the motivation he gave me and the guidance he gave to our early community. So I can't thank him enough for his support, and I hope whatever he's doing, I know he had some personal stuff come up, that he's doing all right. So, and if he comes back, it'd be great to kind of catch up. Malgam Ash, of course, man who needs no introduction. AshQuest, his more focused channel. We got LaGuardia de Morcar, Cristobal, very colorful character, Spanish-speaking world dungeon master for German speakers. And let's see, Always Bored, Never Boring for our UK fans. Big Spender from the Man Cave. Now, I met Big Spender at Gen Con, another one of these fans. Really unique channel, interesting stuff. I could probably add Nomia's Tales on here, spelled with G-H-N, I think it is. Nomia does stop motion on her channel. That's a newer one that we've noticed. Other people, Ron Mower does more like retro video games. So he does like Let's Plays with like Street Fighter 2 and Double Dragon and Castlevania and games like that. But he does some more modern stuff, a lot of wrestling games. Some of these are not HeroQuest related, so I won't really go over them. Cosmic Tavern had, I think, the first unboxing of the retail HeroQuest, which was really cool. Let's see. Some of these other people here. Yeah, not really HeroQuest related. Oh, Bardic Broadcast, of course, is the Bard, the guy with the big beard. What's so great about HeroQuest? That guy with that viral video. He did a few more videos talking about like the art of Elmore and stuff like that. And we all thought that he was going to come back and do some HeroQuest stuff, but I think I don't know if he ran out of steam or if he just hasn't been available. But interesting guy, interesting take. He has kind of a character take on things. Let's take a look and see. Yeah, some of these other ones are just more like general interest stuff, nothing to do with HeroQuest. Because XSC3 didn't start out as a HeroQuest channel. It was more just, this is a YouTube account and that lets me like videos and make playlists, and it
was about video games, if it was about anything, and then it started to dovetail into being the home of HeroQuest fans. That's really what it's become. But I feel like I'm very proud of the fact that we have had this community, that this community has been built, and a lot of influential people in our community have pushed me to do different things. Elviler of elviler.com, Elviler's Game Room, he was very influential with his guides, his website. He designed art that we use to this very day. You know, the borders that you see around the screen, the loading screens, the be right back, you know, the schedule screens. He designed all that. Retro DH gave a good suggestion about the counters that we have. That was mainly his idea. Um, Bob Marston gave some really good suggestions about a use of the channel points. Um, iCareth or Nightbird, he donated some cameras. Well, he didn't really donate them. I bought them from him, but he gave me a really good deal, like a really good deal. And he's given feedback. A lot of people have been moderators. Shem, people like Angus McBain or Joe Kozier, Ribby, of course. Um, yeah, just a lot of people. Too many to name. Like there's just lists and lists. I could go to my Discord actually and just read off all their names. I think I'm going to do that now actually, just so I don't leave out any more people. So here we are on Discord. This is just the Discord app. Just looking at it here. So we got our other communities. So the Avalon Hill Discord, as of this moment, to the recording of this video here on March 12th, 2026, they've got 264 people online, 1,721 members. So they're the biggest. Of course, Avalon Hill devoted to more than just HeroQuest. And then the old Avalon Hill server has dwindled down to 547 members with 96 online. How did they change the names? Oh, no. I got that backwards. Avalon Hill official server is the new one. So actually, they've grown. Yeah, I'll have to go back and edit that. But yeah, the new one is 96 online, 547 members. The old one with the red logo, which is no longer officially active, although people do show up there from time to time, has 264 online, 1,721 overall members. Mentor Study, 93 online, 497 members, very respectable. They've been around much longer than us, 2020, as you can see. HeroQuest Master Edition, so that was focused on people who get together to play specifically HeroQuest on Tabletop Simulator. So Tabletop Simulator from Steam, of course, and HeroQuest Master Edition is the name of one of these community projects that you can download for free, which last I heard, and this was a couple years ago now, it was delisted. Like they took it offline, I guess because Hasbro's lawyers were scaring the Steam people into taking it down because, like, okay, HeroQuest is a commercial product again, right, in retail, and people are trying to like use the official artwork and the logos and everything without permission, even though it was free. So that went down. But some people, like Smoking GM, had already downloaded it, so it can't be hosted on Steam anymore. But anybody who wants it can pass it around and keep it if they want to. So there's still people that get together, and the whole Discord is basically designed just to organize games on Tabletop Simulator and teach you how to use Tabletop Simulator. I've used it a couple times. I thought the learning curve was kind of high. Back when I had my old PC, I couldn't even run it. It was just so choppy. Now I can run it. It's just that I think it's much easier just to do it the way I do. I have my own system. Like the time that you save using Tabletop Simulator, where you can actually point and click and like roll your own dice and move your own pieces around, is mitigated by the fact that you have to learn that system. You have to learn that format. And the fact is, yes, each person can zoom in on the board to the exact place that they want to look at. But the great thing about being in person to play HeroQuest is you can look around with your eyes at the board. You can see everything, right? And when it's your turn, you look over to your spot and you do what you're going to do. Whereas with all formats that do virtual gaming, you're limited. You're either staring at a zoomed out screen of the entire board, or you're looking at just the perspective of the person who's playing at the moment. So it's harder for you to plan your turn in advance before you actually take your turn, especially if the characters have divided up and moved around. So that's always going to be a weakness. I think Tabletop Simulator has its ups and downs. You've got to buy Steam, or no, you've got to be a member of Steam. You've got to buy a copy of Tabletop Simulator, which I think is only $20. And yes, sometimes they have these Steam sales where you could get it for maybe $1 or something like that. And then you got to find HeroQuest Master Edition. Before you had to download it, now you've got to find somebody that's hosting it on some other site and install it, and then learn how to use the format. But once you've got it down, yeah, you could easily play a game, and it would go fairly quickly. Not as quickly as if you were actually playing it at a table with a bunch of other people, but some people prefer that. Some people don't even have HeroQuest, right? They don't have the physical game, and so for them, this is a good way to play. I think when we tried it, I think Jacer was on a phone, and a lot of people only have smartphones. They don't have PCs anymore to play these games, or maybe they don't have a Steam account. They haven't bought Tabletop Simulator, and so Tabletop Simulator doesn't work on Android or iPhone, and so it's not a viable option for those players. So we just had people looking at the screen. The other thing is Zargon has to have his stuff offline anyway, because if he is showing the map, like it's set up as if it's a virtual tabletop. So you see the Zargon screen and you see the quest map sitting there. But it's like anybody who is watching the stream will see Zargon's perspective if Zargon is the host, and they'll see all the secrets. So he still has to have something offline or something like in another window that's not part of the stream to keep the secret from the players, the hero players. So it's kind of tricky. So a lot of people like it. I don't really like it that much, but I've given it a try. And so here we are, 1,213 members, 177 online at this very moment. So this is HeroQuest fans. So not doing this to brag. There's lots of Discords out there that are bigger than ours. But as far as the world of HeroQuest fandom, I think we're doing pretty well. I think we've grown quite a bit. And so this is our humble channel. Here we are. And of course, I can see this because I'm an admin. But we've got our Quest Talk for Twitch. This is where we gather to do games. So if you went in here, we've got this chat. You can see it. We've got a virtual dice that we've rolled using these commands through MentorBot. And then that triggers the 3D dice. We've got voice. And then there's general talk for any time. People have shared their painting, had various discussions. I feel like I'm spying on someone's conversation, but no, I was in this too. Oh yeah, in Elviler's game room. That's a great site to visit, of course. And then I opened a second Quest Talk. The idea here was there's other people who play HeroQuest virtually besides us. Dark Molyneux is one. Ajax is another. He uses Foundry. So he has a Foundry model for a virtual tabletop. Another virtual tabletop that's, well, it's free for people who join. I think there's a $50 subscription. It's either a one-time or it's recurring, but he's a member, and so he can host the game on his server and other people can join. And it's not a public game. So it's open to the public to play as heroes, but it's not streamed to any format. So some people don't want to be part of, a public audience thing. Like they don't want to be on a streamed game. I get it. So there's other people that do games, and they do games fairly regularly, which is great. But I put this here thinking if they want to use our channel and use the Discord talk, it's really easy. And the only thing is people could just jump in and troll them, I guess. But our community is pretty friendly, pretty nice. I think the moderators would step in if someone was abusing it. So we've got our super secret Zargon channel, which is supposed to be where Zargon's GMs can talk about strategies they use to make the quests more interesting, intimidate the heroes, do stuff like that, and talk about spoilers, right? Talk about quest spoilers. Like, well, how would you do this quest? Well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try this. And they can argue about the rules and come up with their own ideas. The hero one is for non-spoilers, basically. Game recaps. We got people talking about various adventures, custom creations. This is kind of a catch-all thing. So some people put 3D prints in here, custom cards, models that they've made, merch they put together, just fun stuff for HeroQuest and related games. Painting, of course, this is a popular one. Lots of painters. And don't be intimidated by the fact that some of these guys are really practiced and talented and experienced because we all got to start somewhere. And I mean, they're very encouraging. They'll give you tips on what products to use. If you're trying to save money, like I'm a big advocate of using craft paints. That's how I got started. But I see the value in some of these more expensive paints for special effects and things, different practical ways to get started. And the fact is, the first miniature you paint, they always say save it because you can always have it to look back and see how you've grown, how you've progressed. And it's not just HeroQuest, although it is mostly HeroQuest. I mean, there's Reaper in here, there's Dungeons and Dragons, there's Talisman, there's whatever that Star Wars tabletop miniature game is. Is it Imperial Attack or something? I can't remember what it was called. But various Star Wars games. Battle Masters is in here, Advanced HeroQuest, WizKids. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. Of course, a lot of us use miniatures from other sources to enhance our HeroQuest. Here's Space Crusade, Warhammer 40,000, Warhammer Fantasy, the Old World. So a lot of great painting stuff in here and a lot of pretty pictures to look at as well. I know there's other sites that do this sort of thing. But whether it's 3D printed or it's like kit bashed, sculpted, or if it's the official HeroQuest, vintage HeroQuest, modern HeroQuest, how to paint. There's just a lot of fun stuff. And so it's great to browse and look at what people have created. You've got crafting tips. That's more like building terrain, ideas for tiles or putting miniatures together, more craft related stuff as opposed to just straight up painting. Kit bashing, various solutions to make your game a little easier, and just homebrew ideas, custom dice. We got the marketplace where people hawk their wares. Mostly it's just links to like eBay listings. Oh, this looks good. Here's somebody selling, the Frozen Horror. Get it while you can. But there's also people selling their own custom dice, various Heroes Quest related merch, no scams, of course. We got playtesting where people just put their ideas out there for other people to test. There's a talisman section. Mostly it's Sikashem. He's a big talisman fan, but there's a few others. So Talisman is one of those games that I have that I've just never actually played. It was a gift, promo review copy, which I need to review, but I need to actually play it, actually sit down and really play it. So I know Sikashem tried to get a game arranged with me, but my schedule wouldn't allow it. So still waiting to actually play Talisman 5th edition. But anyway, if you're a fan, and the miniatures for it are really good, so they could easily be adapted to other games. Speaking of other games, we've got another games section. So I have a whole bunch of stuff from the recent 40K game I played with my friend Brian, and there's all kinds of other games in here for people to talk about and post pictures. There's newbie questions. This is mostly like rule related stuff. So a lot of people ask, well, how do you interpret this rule? And so we have a lot of knowledge, a lot of copy and paste of things Doug Hopkins has said on the official channel, or things and Carmine said from back in the day when he was on Discord. And then there's speculative areas where nobody really agrees on the rule, but here's how different people interpret this rule, or make your own homebrew. It's mostly, beginner questions. We try to be gentle and not overwhelm people with info unless they ask for more. Hero Forge shares. So there's a website called Hero Forge, and you may have, your mileage may vary with it. Some people really like it for creating custom characters. Other people complain about the high cost and the lack of options, but they have their own web-based module where you can just pick pieces. It's like paper dolls almost. You pick the head, the body, the weapons, and then you can order either a 3D model to print yourself or a 3D print, which unfortunately I got a 3D print and it was really brittle and it was in color, but the colors were really muted and I really felt like I got kind of cheated. So I think the best way is to get the 3D models. But anyway, I started this because I wanted to share some characters I'd created because if you have the link, you can share it with other people. So they can go into Hero Forge if they create a free account and they can grab your design and they can actually pay to either print it again or download the file. And I don't care if other people use mine. Like you could recreate anything you want. Also, I noticed some people were selling 3D prints from Hero Forge, which you're not supposed to do. And I just wanted to say, here, you can just make it yourself. Like this is how you would do it. So rather than paying somebody else who's breaking their terms of service, you can just do it yourself. But anyway, this is a place to share the formulas, if you will, of Hero Forge. You got your rumor mill, HeroQuest in the news. Originally, this was to talk about various Hasbro scandals, like when the layoffs were happening, people were getting mad at them, or there was a controversy about them using AI in their commercial art, things like that. But it's also been a place just to discuss rumors, like not necessarily like official things, but like leaks or rumors of leaks, speculation, a lot of that sort of thing, jokes. Sometimes we get off topic. Well, I'm notorious for going off topic on my own Discord. But anyway, what I'm saying is HeroQuest fans is as much the Discord as it is the Twitch channel, as it is the YouTube channel. Like it's all part of the same thing. So that's HeroQuest fans, this community. We've got reviews, criticism. So reviews of official products mostly, comments, knee-jerk reactions, hot takes. What the hell is wrong with my art cover? Yep, fun stuff like that. Then we got the new release spoilers. This is definitely the spoiler channel. And this is, yeah, just breaking stuff down, taking pictures of the insides of quests, all kinds of things. Gen Con, this was originally for Gen Con 2025, but we updated it Gen Con 2026 and other conventions, other con hype. So preparing for these various shows. You got the UK Gaming Expo, you got Luca, you got Spiel, you've got Gen Con, of course, several others that I'm forgetting. But the major board game conventions, I guess PulseCon for Hasbro. It's their internal show, but we're basically looking for news, leaks, rumors. Okay, what's the next big show? What are they going to bring out for the next product? We got videos, of course, mostly HeroQuest related videos from YouTube. I post all my HeroQuest fans videos here just to let people know, hey, there's a new video, check it out. Anything interesting that's on topic, we post here. So it doesn't matter if it's in Spanish or English or German or French or whatever, it's on here. Subtitles are great. Websites, this one's used a lot less, but we've got Discords, we've got websites like Alvaler's Game Room. Here we got the Amalgam Archive. That's Amalgam Match's channel, not too shabby for just one guy's content. 404 members, 70 online, good dedicated community, a lot of fun. The bus of Discord has now been renamed the Rantcast Discord, or it's the Rantcast Podcast Archive on YouTube. But anyway, it's very small, 12 members, or 40 members, 12 online. That's for just announcing when the Rantcast podcast is starting. Here we've got Music to Quest 2. This is links to the AI stuff that I've created and also some other videos people posted. It doesn't have to be strictly HeroQuest related, but sometimes people just want to hear music. So a lot of it's royalty free or just things people have found, something that's kind of fantasy themed or funny. Various bands. Looking for players, of course, so that you can notify people that your game is about to start or that you just need some people lined up for an event. We got audio podcasts, mostly just the Rantcast podcast and League of Covert Nerd podcast. But just sometimes stuff goes here, like when we're doing a stream and we're just talking about stuff, just references. So people were asking, what is Mad Balls? What are Mad Balls? So Mall Whip, who has his own website, Hardcore Hero Quest. Check it out. He was sharing, yeah, these are what Mad Balls are. And now, what I meant to do, the credits. This is the thank you. So I'm just going to read it off. Shadzar on YouTube, thanks to him for doing the research and basic setup of the Discord, pushing me to start the channel in the first place, as well as serving as our first moderator. L. Viler of L. Viler's Game Room on the web for contributing some really great art for the loading screens and borders that are used on our various Twitch streams. Ribby of Bourbon and Board Games for Mentorbot and DD Dice options for virtual dice that have served us well in many a remote game, as well as other fine items like Ribby's remarkable rims, which he 3D printed for me excellently, and he gave a lot of those away at Gen Con to various people. Featured on more than one stream. Strange Bus of The Strange Bus on Twitch and YouTube, Bus of Discord. Now it's the Rantcast Discord. For being a frequent collaborator, mastermind behind the Rantcast podcast, and various constructive and generous constructive critic. Covert Nerd of Covert Nerd Podcast, that's Lee, for his insight into the interview process and of some great brainstorming, as well as his continued enthusiasm for stuff like this. Sika Shem, Learlek, and the rest of our ever-growing cadre of fearless moderators, vigilant, good-humored, mostly, ready to contribute, not merely watch from the shadows. Verg, for some much-needed constructive feedback, and another who overlaps into groups with the above. Hispazargon for his zeal as a HeroQuest historian and popularizer of arcane lore, at least when it comes to American HeroQuest. Amalgamash of the same YouTube channel and AshQuest for his wit, creativity, and wisdom, as well as constructive feedback. In a steel cage. That's our joking again. Nightbird Icareth for his unique take on life and things, as well as his knowledge and expertise in the realm of things I don't know much about, like coding. Helped me with a great deal on some cameras and also boosted the channel, though I didn't ask him to. Also a pretty striking blind warrior figure model, some would say. Jace, aka Jacer J22 of War Builder J22 on YouTube and elsewhere for his seemingly endless creativity and his abundance of participation on the streams. One of the guys who really pushed me to bring the dream forward, PSK Knucklehead, also known as PSK Studio, and various people he pointed me to, friends in the D&D and Warhammer painting communities, people like Wicked Mini Painting or Gareth Rydmar, early subscribers to the stream. Oh wow, and everyone that followed and subbed on YouTube. We'd be here all day. These were my comments back then. The community over at Yield In, which helped preserve the flame of HeroQuest and related games. Fandom online for many years and encouraged me to step out and start posting my own content, along with many great conversations and debates. Ron Mower, despite no connection to HeroQuest, just being a stand-up guy and inspiration for being a tenacious content creator trying to have a good time on a low budget and appreciator of retro media. ECW. He's a big ECW fan. And thanks also to the many frequent contributors, both on Discord and on Twitch. Too many to name, and if I left anyone out, please don't take it as a slight. Just remind me, and I'll add you here, of course. Anyone who stops by and says hello has my thanks. Any like, follow, helpful comment, any helpful link or awesome picture share, etc., you are also appreciated. The very fact that you're here and reading this means a lot to me. And to those who followed, subscribed, boosted, or cheered, especially those who contributed money or freebies or assets to use on the stream, wow, thank you. Your generosity helps us prosper. So we've got Angus McBain, Carnigal, Count Cogpox, Dumai Montalto, Glasgow Gargoyle, Bohemius, Darkhawk, or Retro DH, Geek on Giddy, Eudoxio. It's going to start to sound like the roll call from that Frozen Horror credits video. Might as well be. Thanks to Luca Posky for the preservation work on the Lost Quest Packs project. Awesome stuff. Squidge Monster for HQuest Builder. Other great and growing communities and modders, too numerous to name. And thanks also to other great content creators on places like YouTube, some of which we've interacted with. Dead Gamer, for example, whom I toast on nearly every stream. I need to start toasting him some more. Sir Death and others we just admire for now, like Bardic Broadcasts, whose meme fame turned many a modern eye to HeroQuest. Always Bored, Never Boring, Jordan Sorcery, and some generous folks over at Board Game Geek who got me some fantastic deals on some items I never thought I'd have a reasonable chance of owning. That wasn't a sponsored endorsement, just saying. To those streamers and vloggers in the international fans community, we've got Dungeon Master German, Cristobal of LaGuardia di Morcar, Spain, HeroQuest Italia, Grog, in Italian, Game 7, UK. Fans and players from Europe are especially to thank for connecting me with those legacy moments I missed out on from the history of the old games. Hero Quest, Battle Masters, Space Crusade, or Star Quest, and discover new things I never knew existed. Finally, thank you to the folks at Avalon Hill, the Hasbro affiliate, for popping in and participating, doing interviews, being good sports, and playing guessing games with spoilers, and also listening to the fans. And of course, all the people along the way that made HeroQuest possible, whether at Milton Bradley Hasbro, or Takara, or Games Workshop, especially in Carmi, Chris Nato, Avalon Bill, William Mort, Wandering Monster, Doug Hopkins, Intergalactic Patrick, Patrick O'Rourke, last but not least, the OG himself, Stephen Baker. Thank you all. So I wasn't getting emotional there. I was just starting to lose my voice. So it's probably time I put an end to this long video talk. But again, I want to thank everybody who supported HeroQuest fans over the years. Again, like I said, there's some changes happening, but I'm not planning to quit. I'm not planning to go away. And as I've always said, I wanted this to be a community that would take off on its own, that would continue even if I did step away. Even if I decide to retire or quit the content creator space at some point, it's going to continue without me. And I think that says a lot about the community we've made, the people who've contributed. It's a lot of fun. It gets people together. We make new friends. People introduce the game to their kids, their grandkids, families get together. It's a lot of fun, and it doesn't have to be a big, expensive hobby. It can be just something you do really cheaply. It really gets people's creativity going. And a lot of communities out there, unfortunately, over time, they can get toxic and people can fight with each other. And I think it's just a very relaxed atmosphere. People are very casual, just have fun. People come and go as they please. Yeah, once in a while, people get into arguments, but I think we tend to keep it light, keep it fun. And that's the way it ought to be, rather than everyone scrabbling and squabbling and trying to get their last dollar and just not having a good time. Because to me, if it becomes like that, it's time to step away because it's not meant to be taken so seriously. It's just having a good time. So thank you for having a good time with me. I've really enjoyed playing HeroQuest. I plan to continue. I may end up playing HeroQuest a lot more outside of the streams because I still love the game. I still enjoy it. And if I don't have time to put on the production, because it does take a lot of time to prep for the streams, believe it or not. It looks like it's just thrown together, but I mean, I don't have a dedicated game space yet. Someday I'd like to. But so it takes a lot of time to set up. We have software issues, hardware issues, internet issues. Real life gets in the way, but we do the best we can. So I'm really happy that other people are picking it up and being inspired by what we do and doing similar things or coming up with their own ways to connect with the game and with each other. So until then, from HeroQuest fans, from me, thank you. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you in the future. So check out what we've already done and keep on going. All right, take care. Bye.